virtual audience, subscribers of Diverse Marketing, Kid at Heart, LinkedIn, wherever you're finding this piece of content, I am super excited to introduce you to two friends from Tulsa, Oklahoma that are great parents and great business owners. They've built a company all about connecting people and bringing their family together, which they have a big family of. I met them in a pretty cool trade show type of environment, which I think fits the tone of the happy half hour. As we can't travel, as we can't call on customers, as we can't necessarily meet each other in person, we're finding ways to bring interesting stories to you, the toy trend gift professional. Guys, Chris, Jen, say hello.
Hey. What's going on?
That was a good hello, guys. It's
Thanks.
nice to see you. I get to see you so often that, you know, I feel like it's, you know, maybe I'm the lucky one. You guys
We're
are
family.
Yeah. Maybe can I be a part of your family yet? Have
Absolutely.
we talked about adoption? Is that possible? Adult adoption?
Oh, well, I'm not old enough to adopt you. I'm only 29.
29 and Chris is
Yeah.
29.
But
Good.
you could be like a cousin or something.
I'll take a cousin role. That sounds
Okay,
exciting.
cool.
Well,
I actually have a question.
Please.
I saw John Krasinski's Happy Hour and the entire cast of Hamilton came on. Can we be expecting anything like that in this half hour?
I mean, Jen, I feel like you know my type of content, and it always is below the bar that anybody sets for me. Every time we are right under it. So there will be no special appearances by anybody famous. But hopefully you'll be famous soon one day, and then people can look back in this and say, this is where they started.
Yeah.
That's where you and I live, Steve. We're just like right below that bar.
Right below the bar. That's how.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
All right.
SolidRoots is a family company that decided to take their product to market at the Atlanta Gift Show, and where we actually met. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So
this is it. We love to tell this story.
At the Atlanta Gift Show was our very first big trade show. And we had no idea what we were doing. And we had this little tiny booth, completely handmade, like literally arts and craft handmade, back in the middle of nowhere on the 5th floor, like next to some guy selling like
umbrellas,
boas and umbrellas and like all this stuff. And I remember when we set up, all the people around us, like they were kind of like seasoned pros, and they were kind of giving us like side eye, like these guys have no idea what they're doing. But
which we didn't.
It's still annoying.
That's okay. You got the boat in the water. That's the key.
We got the boat in the water. We brought our first products and then a couple of signs that to let people know like what was coming down the pike. And so one day, one of the days of the show, Steve like just zooms past our booth like he was a man on a mission, you know, like going somewhere in your snazzy suit, like this like 3-piece suit. Steve is like the most well-dressed man I've ever seen in my life.
Obviously, judging by this shirt.
Obviously, he's just got some incredible stylish taste. And you walked right past our booth, like completely past it, and then literally walked backwards and did this like double take at our Christmas games, like the Dirty Santa. And he's like, did you just colloquialize a traditional Christmas exchange game that all millions of people already play? And I was like, well, I don't know what colloquialize means, but I think we did. And Steve's like, yeah. Meet me at the 14th floor tonight, 9 o'clock, don't tell anyone. And so we had no idea who you were at that time, obviously, but we were excited nonetheless and made our way up there that night to your massive, amazing party at Diverse Marketing. And Steve just took us under his wing, and the rest is history. So it was pretty awesome, and we're really grateful.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that story. Do you happen to have one of the white elephants or Yankee swaps around? If you don't, that's okay. We'll digitally put them in there. Yeah, grab it. What caught my eye was that they created a game, like like Jen said, that colloquialized or rather gamified something that was already happening in society. Jen, show them the three different versions, please.
Okay. There's Dirty Santa, which is the best one by far.
That's what we play here in the South.
Yep.
That's why it's the best. There's White Elephant,
which is what most
else
people know.
does.
Which I've heard of, right? Dirty Santa, White Elephant. But Yankee Swap was the item that was the exclamation point to the theory behind the item. They went so far to understand that the northeastern market, which is the most populated in the US, it's called Yankee Swap from The Office, if you guys have seen that. And it had to have been a part of it. So it gives you a game board, gives you pieces, it gives you official rules, it gives you everything you need to play this game better. But from a merchandising standpoint, it allows a retailer to merchandise many things that don't necessarily look good together under that common $20 price point. So now you can have a White Elephant or a Yankee Swap section at retail, but it doesn't look like a hodgepodge because it is anchored by this game. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds a fascinating way to sell games and merchandise other things and increase the average dollar spent by the consumer theoretically. So I got to talking to them, and then they showed me Shanghai Rummy, or their version of it. Kit, do you happen to have that, please?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, as we get that, I should have told them I was going to pitch all their games.
I should have been more prepared.
Jen, show them and tell them about this incredible little game.
So this is my family's favorite card game. We've been playing this as long as I've been alive. My great-grandmother, we called her Momo. That's her on the packaging right there. She was a very intense card player. She was a very intense game player, period. We grew up, even as like 3 and 4-year-olds, playing cards with her. Even if it was Go Fish, you had to play for a quarter. You had to sit up straight. You had to hold your cards. You couldn't be a baby. You couldn't cry if you lost. She would always win and take our money. Like, she was hilarious. And she passed away like 15 or 16 years ago, but we wanted to create something that was sort of pay homage to the person who started this love of playing games in our family. And this was her version of Shanghai Rummy. She just, most people in my family cheat at playing games, honestly. Yeah. We're super competitive, and you just do what you gotta do. So she liked to use a lot of jokers, and she thought black twos would be wild and all of this kind of stuff. And in her version of Shanghai, you can steal cards from each other and buy them and grab them, and it gets very physical. So we're like, let's make the Momo's version of Shanghai Rummy, and let's package it in her cigarette purse, which she was never seen without. So like, Momo's cigarette purse was actually way more amazing than this. There were like 2 sewn together, like back to back, and one side was for Virginia Slims and the other side was for Bingo Daubers. Wow. And it was bedazzled, and we literally like buried her with it in her hand. Like,
fabulous.
So this was the only option when it came to packaging. And what has been really awesome is seeing the way that people connect to this packaging and the way that it instantly brings back, your grandma might not have been like Momo, but most people have really fond memories of playing cards at their grandma's kitchen table. Yeah. A lot of people remember these, that their aunt had it or their mom had one. And it just brings back like good feelings of,
It does. I've probably seen over 100,000 games in my career in the toy business. It's very rare that something is packaged in a way I haven't seen it before. And it's almost never where packaging represents heart, where it represents love. And you guys did something super unique. And we like each other so much, right? I think we like each other so much. I like you guys, that we decided to take the rep manufacturer relationship a little further. We decided to collaborate on a new virtual game show based on what I think is the 2020 family game of the year. This little guy is called Mind the Gap. And we created an experiential commercial called Mind the Gap Live that you can catch on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll show you some links. But guys, can you talk us through Mind the Gap, what made it happen, and how Mind the Gap Live came to be?
Well, it gets old saying this, but like genuinely every game that we make goes back to just stuff that we actually do with our family. So my grandma is in her 80s, and our parents are in their 60s, and we're 29, and we have cousins in their 30s and kids in their 20s, and then we have a daughter that's 15 and a son that's 11. So it's rare to find a game that engages our 15 and 11-year-old as well as our grandma. And you can buy games, that for one group that does really well, and then another group is bored,
Right.
or whatever. So we were like, what could we create that would be fun for everybody? And at the time, this was a couple of years ago when we were making it, there's just so much tension between all of the generations right now. So instantly, like, we just get this idea like, oh, what if we create something that's generational, that makes all of the generations work together to have a successful game. So we had come up with this idea of Mind the Gap, in the context of the generation gap. And we decided to create generational pop culture trivia for the boomers, the Gen Xers, the millennials, and the Gen Zs. And as soon as the idea dropped in our head, it was almost like we instantly knew how this game would be played and what would be fun and what kind of questions there would be. So we, got it developed, and we wrote the trivia, and the response has been just like mind-boggling and off the charts for us. We never expected it to strike the chord that it did, but
yeah, guys, if you haven't played it yet, it's available on pre-order on mindthegapgame.com and solidroots.com. If you want to go and sign up, mindthegapgame.com, apply to be a contestant. You can bring your squad. I'm lucky enough to get to host this with their cousin and my friend now, English Eddie. We've now hosted 15 episodes, and this thing it's a great way to spend an evening with new people and with friends that you haven't seen for a while. And that key, like Jen said, that connecting of generations. When I first got pitched Mind the Gap, and I don't think you guys had a sample of it, you just showed me a rendering. The okay boomer negativity was happening in society. Like as we see this, the protest and turmoil that's happening, there is a rift between older people and young people right now. And this game, I'm not saying heals that rift because it's much bigger than play, but at least it starts the conversation. It puts two people in the same room. And now, as Corona has proved, you don't even have to be in the same room to have those conversations and create play, because this game works amazingly in a digitized version. I actually think that games will now have to be created with a set of digitized rules. Like, if you can't play your game over Zoom, it's not necessarily the best version of a new game. Yeah. I was going to ask you guys about your crazy family some more, but we'll do that later. We're going to play the video. We're going to do that on the send-off. What I want to know is there's an event that the three of us are super excited about. It involves Mind the Gap and an amazing charity. Could you tell us about the Mind the Gap St. Jude's collaboration with Barnes & Noble?
Yeah, we're working with Barnes & Noble right now. They're going to be carrying our game later on this summer, which we're super excited about. Getting into Barnes & Noble is I don't know, this bizarre dream come true sort of for us. So we're super honored to be working with them. And they have a really great relationship with St. Jude's, which I think is awesome. And they were able to sort of pitch this thing that we're doing with Mind the Gap Live to St. Jude for their Week of Hope and offer it as part of their game night. So we were super honored to be asked to do that. And I don't know, I love that, like we were talking earlier, the game is all about positivity. It's all about bringing people together. And when you think of St. Jude's, especially as a mom, there's nothing more serious than your kid being sick, right? But I think that's something that we believe, and that our careers, even before being game designers, we find that bringing people together to have fun and to laugh and to create memories, like something very profound happens when you're laughing together and when you're sharing an experience that is like bringing you joy, and you're making inside jokes, and you're creating this fun moment. And those moments can bond you together just as much as serious moments can bond you together. And so it feels like, oh, what could our company that is about, being silly and having fun and laughing, what is the connection to something very serious like St. Jude's? But I think it just goes back to that, that idea that there is something profound when you get in a room or a virtual room together with people and you laugh and you have fun and you let down and you give people a little bit of time to get their mind off of other things and to just let down and have fun. So in that regard, I think we're just super happy that we can provide that and that we can be that, that's what we have to offer right now during this time. And so we're just happy to do that, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out Remarks, Grace, Tom, Laura for their help in organizing this. Shout out Barnes and Noble, amazing charity. And we're going to be entertaining the tri-state area donors with Mind the Gap Live. They're going to be playing it and it's going to be super fun. And if I can hijack to add to this story, I've been working with diverse marketing for 12 years and I've gone all over the country, all over the world. But the most meaningful meeting in my time here is when I went with our territory manager, Joy Musselwhite, to the St. Jude's compound because we were selling their gift shop. And the store manager gave me a tour of the whole facility and explained what they do for these children, what they do for these families. The family is there as a support system, all at the cost of the hospital. The family and the children do not pay for a single thing while they're there. It is the most, it's the most powerful thing I've done. And this idea that play can help this organization and we can promote a great product while helping the world is just really powerful to me and really important. Well, guys, I think from your perspective, I always say we need more people from outside of the toy industry making toy products and play. And I think we all know and can see that you guys approach product development differently. And honestly, the toy industry needs this. So we're a little bit jaded in the sense that what has worked in the past is what's going to work in the future, and we're a little too afraid to develop something new because it costs money to do that. It costs time. You guys aren't afraid. Can you give us a sneak peek at what you're working on and maybe debuting at a future trade show when they resume?
So we're really excited. This August through October, we're actually debuting 12 new products.
What?
12.
That's big. We
are super pumped about all of them, honestly. Let's see, I don't know. We've got a super cool game coming out that's in the horror genre that I think is going to be an incredible product. It's a lot of fun for families, and it's a game that you can sit down and in 5 minutes you'll learn how to play it. You're going to have a ton of fun. You're going to laugh your head off, but also there's a ton of strategy involved as well. So those that want to take a much deeper dive and just nerd out and geek out on the strategy, they're going to be able to do that as well.
Awesome.
That's one that we're most excited about.
Yeah, we think it's going to be huge. Partly because it fits two different demographics. Like I said, families can play. We've play tested it and it was a blast with our kids. But there's also a deeper strategy level that the games can just go on forever if you're kind of playing with your same group of friends. That there's all kinds of different strategies that go into it. So
yeah, they're gonna love
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be a great game. We've got some like category type games, and one that I'm probably one of my most favorite is actually it's a product for kids. We are, you know, when I think back to, you know, when I grew up in the 80s, play required you to use your imagination more. And you know, I think back to, you know, when my grandma talks about playing kick the can, you know, the objects you're using, like you have to partner together with that and turn it into a spaceship or turn it into whatever, right? So it required you to think more and be more creative. And as we've, you know, progressed technologically, you can literally put on a headset and be in an entire world, and you don't have to think about anything, right? It's just there. And while I'm fascinated by that, and I think he's even more fascinated by those things, and it's really cool that, you know, we can use technology to do things like Mind the Gap Live. I feel like we've lost something for little kids instead of just like handing them over, like, here, like, here's this, now turn it into something else. Like, we've just handed them iPads or video games, and they don't have to use their imagination. So we are introducing a product this fall for kids, for young kids, that is
Reintroducing.
Bring
Yes,
it
this
back.
is yeah, we're bringing back one of my favorite brands from when I was a kid, and it's going to be a cool retro line that's going to help. It's basically going to foster and nurture that creativity in your kid's brain, and it's all about using your imagination. And it's just
Retailers that support world building, genuine, wholesome wholesale play, nostalgia, like evergreen tech without screens. I'm gonna give you a few more hints, but if you're a buyer of those things, SolidRoots is a company to speak to about fall 2021. Chris, Jen, you guys have made it. It is the end of the show, and we finish it with a segment we call the creation of positive energy, where you guys get to shout out anybody that's doing a great job, a mentoree, a mentor, somebody that you might not even know who is creating positive energy for a better tomorrow. The floor is yours. But before that, Mind the Gap is available to pre-order on SolidRoots. MindTheGapGame.com is where we'd love for you to apply to be a contestant on Mind the Gap Live. It's super fun, I promise. Chris, Jen,
come hang out with us. Come play our game. It's like me and Steve and Eddie, and we just like have a good time, right?
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, and get your grandma. Like, that's what I think is so cool about Mind the Gap Live. Like, get your grandma on, get your mom, get your kid, and make a team and come and play. Or if you have a big family like ours, you can put two teams together and play against each other. It's just awesome. It's really fun. Yeah, so I do actually have a couple of shout outs. I have been spending the last couple of weeks, actually both of us have, you know, it's this an interesting time right now that we're going through as a culture, and I wanted to know, because it honestly, to be like, I have not met very many people of color in our industry since we've been in it for the last 2 or 3 years. And so I started researching some game designers out there that I just wanted to know more about, and who was out there and what were they making. And there's a couple of really, really cool companies out there. One is called Board Game Brothers, and their Instagram is off the charts. They have a couple of really cool products. One is called Rap Gods, and you basically make your way like from like going to school and like making your way big into the rap industry. It's really funny. It's very well designed, super colorful, really, really
Sounds
cool.
awesome. They got a new follower right now.
They have a game called Graffiti Nights, like KNIGHTS. Just really, really well done, really well designed, very artistic, very inspiring. Love that. And then there's another one called Urban Intellectuals, and they have an Instagram as well, and they make lots of African American trivia cards and really cool flashcards, and they've got some really cool merch, and they're just doing really cool stuff, highlighting really important people in the African American community and talking about the contributions they've made to our country. That we honestly probably weren't taught, and we probably don't know, all the things that they're responsible for inventing and making, and their art, and they've got cool trivia cards about jazz, and it's just really cool. So SolidRoots is committed to highlighting some of these game companies as often as we come across them, and just making sure that people know about them. And because it honestly, like, their art is great, their design is great, their games are great, they're educational, and we should just know about them.
Yeah.
And then I will say one game company, Barry and Jason.
Yeah.
Those guys are, I met them one time. Okay.
Slap.
So I don't know them, and I was basically like, their stuff is so funny.
Shout out Barry and Jason. Shout out that Anchorman the game. Super funny. Can you read the prompt?
So funny. The games in the can, and the one for the car, and it's the stuff. It just reminds me of stuff that we would probably have and probably did, like stuff you made up as a kid to do, like back in the day. Like, I think one of the things for the car was like, call someone in your phone and all you can do is moo until they moo back at you. Like, just, I don't know. I just find them to be hysterical and great guys.
That's awesome. Jen, Chris. Oh, Chris, I think you have a shout out. I see it and I want to hear it.
I was just going to say that I don't know how many times I've been designing something, or like we're trying to put a game together, and Jen's like, well, Barry and Jason do this. It's like, why can't we do something like that?
Yeah, crazy.
Break the rules, Chris. I love it. Jen, Chris, we are at the end of the show. Thank you so much for your time. This is the part where we wave to the camera and say, bye.